Today we're going to talk about the death of left-wing activist Ryan Carson.
Yeah, you better. Yeah, you better.
Guys, before we get into this video, please like and subscribe if you'd like to spread the message that we're sharing on this channel. Now, we're going to talk about an unfortunate situation, and that is the death of left-wing activist Ryan Carson. Now, Ryan Carson and his girlfriend, Claudia Morales, were returning home from a wedding. This was a little bit before 4 in the morning on Monday, October 2nd. They were sat down at a bus stop bench when they started to hear a commotion, and it was a young black male who was kicking and, messing with scooters down the street. Now, Ryan Carson and Claudia Morales decided to get off of that bus stop bench and walk toward the commotion, where an altercation began. The young man said, "What are you looking at?" to Ryan Carson, and Ryan, I guess instinctively, stood between the young man and his girlfriend in order to protect her. Now, little did he know this young man had a knife that he would eventually take out and swing at him. Ryan Carson dodged the first swing, ended up falling backwards and tripping, and the suspect in this case stabbed Ryan Carson 3 times, penetrating his heart. Now, Ryan Carson was rushed to the hospital where he would eventually succumb to his injuries. Now, as I said before, Ryan Carson was a left-wing activist. So was his girlfriend. It's reported that he worked on the opioid crisis, as well as talking about the environment mostly. But there's also an alleged report that his Twitter bio used to say COO of Antifa. It could have been a joke, but it also could insinuate that he was a member of Antifa. His girlfriend, Claudia Morales, is a self-proclaimed Black Lives Matter supporter. She's also made posts on social media where she's wearing an ACAB shirt. For those of you who are unfamiliar with that acronym, it means all cops are bastards. She's also written a lengthy paragraph about run-ins that she's had with police officers, specifically in 2020 during the George Floyd protests and riots, where she stated, quote, "The police do not protect you, ACAB, BLM, hope you're on the right side of history." Now, I want to make it clear that his girlfriend's actions are in no way, shape, or form his actions, and I think that's a separation that needs to be made when we are talking about this case and what has happened to Ryan Carson. I see a lot of people on the internet, in my opinion, very disgustingly gloating about his death, cheering on his death, because they don't agree with his left-leaning policy advocacy. I think there is a way to tactfully have that conversation, and unfortunately, a lot of the social media posts I've been seeing about Ryan's death seem to be very gleefully talking about how the policies that he may have supported in his life led to his death. Oftentimes when you hear the news of right-wing figures dying in the media, you will often see left-wing activists or left-leaning individuals take to the internet to sort of gleefully cheer on those deaths, all because they disagree with the policies that they support or their philosophy or their worldview. And this is not something that anybody should do in response to somebody that they disagree with dying. This is not a fate that I would wish on my worst enemy. So to take to social media and to cheer this on, for me, is an utter misstep. And I get it. I think a lot of us are desensitized to violence, that we don't really feel the weight of death when we see it anymore. And the fact that this video has circulated with jokes and people cheering it on just really goes to show that we are completely desensitized to violence in our current state as a society. But let's talk about maybe the underbelly of those jokes that are made on the internet. Of course, it seems that Ryan Carson was a left-wing individual. We know that typically left-wing individuals are very soft on crime. They are anti-police. He insinuates that he may have even been a supporter of Antifa. He's dating a young woman who supports Black Lives Matter, who says things like ACAB and that cops do not protect people. And then he is led to this fate. Of course, there is some irony there, and it's an irony that should be explored, and hopefully there is a lesson learned here. It is a lesson that can't be learned by Ryan Carson, as he is deceased, right? So we hope that maybe those around him who may have supported policies that led to his death wake up and decide to move in another direction, in a direction that makes their city safer, in a direction that leads to less victims like Ryan Carson. We hope that maybe his girlfriend, who is making these posts about Black Lives Matter and ACAB on social media, decides to second guess that the next time she feels the need to do so. We hope that things change. None of the articles that I read about this young man, Ryan Carson, made me believe that he was a horrible person. That is something that we must all be reminded of. Even people who you vehemently disagree with are not horrible people. They themselves are doing what they believe to be the compassionate passionate thing, the thing that's going to change their city, the thing that's going to make lives better in this country. And even though they may be wrong, even though they may be misguided, it does not mean that they deserve to die in the street. I can imagine that each and every one of you who is watching this video knows a left-leaning person or has a left-leaning person in your life. It could be a daughter, a sister, a friend, a coworker. Would we wish this fate on that individual? No. And I know that most people are reasonable and they're not watching a video like this and cheering it on, but I do want to go after those who have the proclivity to do exactly that. Like I said, there is a big lesson to be learned here, and that is a lesson that hopefully Ryan Carson's girlfriend has learned, his peers learned, his coworkers learned, if they're supporting some of the policies that may have led to a crime like this. But this is also the worst possible way to have learned that lesson. And unfortunately, it doesn't seem like many are learning that lesson. Here's an update. There's been a GoFundMe created in the name of Ryan Carson by his friends. And you would think that that GoFundMe was for funeral expenses, to lighten the load of his family, to give them a little bit of cash to handle all the things that come with a family member dying. But no, this GoFundMe was to raise money for Ryan Carson's friends. Let's read a little bit of it. Hi everyone, we are a collective of Ryan's close friends reeling from a brutal loss. We are asking for your help on behalf of his partner in easing the burden and stress of this horrifying situation so that we can have space and time to grieve and remember Ryan. Immediate needs are to offset the costs of working class people taking time off of work to properly mourn. Now, in a small sense, I can understand this, right? If somebody close to you has just died and you need time off work and that's time that you cannot afford or time that work is not awarding you, that can be a difficult thing to grapple with, and maybe you would need something to lighten the load. But I would think that as a close friend of this young man, you would think that the burden should be lifted off maybe his family, maybe off of funeral costs and other things that ensue when somebody close to you is now deceased. So maybe they aren't learning the lesson. And it's even now been reported that a friend of Ryan stated that Ryan would have viewed the man who stabbed him as a victim of a broken system. Now, that may or may not be true. Ryan is not here to substantiate that opinion. And we've talked about something similar on this channel before, where a young woman was killed and her friends came forward and said she wouldn't have wanted the assailant to go to jail. Again, this very well could have been true. We never know how radical these individuals are, and we'll never get to hear from them again because of their fate. And Ryan Carson could very well be the exact person that they are describing. Here's a video of a white man crying after calling the police on a black man who tried to attack him.
Got a statement for him?
I don't want him arrested. I just want him to leave us alone.
I know, but he had a weapon on him and it was terrorist threats.
Brandishing is not a crime with a knife. Brandishing is only a crime for a gun.
The threats, everything.
Let
me get a statement.
If I thought you were going to arrest him, I wouldn't call. I just wanted to leave us alone.
I understand, but we still have a job to do.
Now he's gonna think I'm doing this because I'm white and he's black. Or he's homeless and I'm not. I don't want that.
But did he do what he did?
Yeah, but I don't want him thinking I did it because he's in whatever situation he's in. I just want him to leave us alone.
The point is here that Ryan Carson is never going to be able to state how he feels about the incident that occurred on October 2nd. And as broken as the system may be to a left-leaning person, what we must do is get these individuals off the streets so they cannot continue to cause harm like this. This means not being soft on crime. This means actively supporting police officers and law enforcement. This means trying to make your city a safer place. And when trying to make your city a safer place, you need to get rid of dangerous criminals. Now, an 18-year-old black male by the name of Brian Dowling has been apprehended in the case of this stabbing. And if he is the person responsible, he should see his time in prison and he should not be allowed back on the streets of Brooklyn to commit another act like this. Ryan Carson, his girlfriend, and his cohorts may or may not agree with that assessment of the situation, but in my opinion, that is exactly what needs to happen here. Like I said, guys, this is extremely unfortunate, especially when looking at this from the perspective of who I used to be as an individual. You know, 5 years ago, if you had talked to me about how I felt about crime or Black Lives Matter or police, I probably would have echoed a lot of the same sentiments of Ryan Carson's girlfriend or even Ryan Carson himself, even though we don't have full clarity about his entire stance on those issues. And to have to learn the lesson that maybe the policies you're advocating for are wrong this way is extremely unfortunate. You hope that people learn these lessons in the easy way. You hope that people come to this conclusion with logic and reason. But more often now than ever, it seems to be fatalities like this that highlight the severity of our situation. And yeah, that's all I really have to say about this situation with Ryan Carson. Of course, give me your thoughts in the comments down below. How do you feel about it? Do you disagree with anything I said? As always, I encourage healthy debates, so duke it out, but do so respectfully. And if you like this video, like, subscribe, click the notification bell to be notified every single time I make a post for you guys, which is every single day, and I will see you next time. time.
Yeah, you better. Yeah, you better.